a few years ago, a friend and I were part of an orchestra that traveled to Durban, and we were hosted. Everybody in the orchestra was sort of hosted by a family, and we had a hostess, and it was a sweet lady, and she might have been, let's say, 150 years old, and that's how old she was. And so, we get in the car, and my friend, who knows that I'm quite a talker, he's like, okay, you sit in front, I'm just going to sit in the back. Then, okay, I sit in front, and this lady's not saying anything. And my friend's not saying anything, so I'm like, okay, just, start some conversation. And then, I say, oh, this is a very beautiful place here. Durban is such a nice place. And she says nothing. She doesn't even acknowledge me. She's just quiet. And then, like 5 minutes of silence pass. I'm like, okay, I understand. We keep quiet in the car. Fine. 5 minutes later, she's like, so you guys from Bloemfontein? And then I'm like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, we're from Bloemfontein. And it's been quite a journey to travel here. You answer the question openly, And then after that, silence. She's quiet. And then I'm like, what is happening? And then I look at my friend at the back, and he's also like checking what's going on here. So another 5 minutes of silence, and then just like, that's nice. And I was like, what? So then we sleep at this lady's house, and it's all weird, it's all awkward. And me and my friend have no idea how we ended up in this situation with this person who's acting strange. For all intents and purposes, this person is acting very strange. The next day we get to the rehearsal venue. The same lady brings us this sparkling conversationalist, and then she drops us off. We get out, and then we speak to the leader of the orchestra, and he's like, did you guys know that lady's deaf? And we were like, oh, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to episode 3. Everybody, thank you so much for all the support that you've provided me with so far. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the helpful inputs and feedbacks, the positive feedback or constructive feedback, let me say. Definitely helping me to improve this show and let it grow. And with that being said, if you enjoy this podcast, if you want me to continue to grow in this thing, if you want the channel to grow, the podcast to grow, then please do subscribe. Please share this thing. Let others see it. Even if they don't enjoy it, I just kicked it. Sorry. Even if they don't enjoy it, just let them like it. And let them watch it, let them subscribe to it, even if they are not interested, but you're interested, and I appreciate that. I think that in a world where everything is fake, everything is being edited, everything is being manipulated, we're using AI to change things, to fake things, that's just the world of social media that we live in. And I guess for me, I am very, very excited about what I'm doing here, because I don't edit this. The only thing I do is insert the theme song, after the opener, and then I just, add some music, and then obviously put the sound and video together. But I don't cut anything out. You've seen it. My mistakes remain. I'm just trying to keep it real. And if you are someone that likes to keep it real, then this is definitely going to be a show that you enjoy. So, so please do subscribe. Please continue supporting this podcast. And thank you for the support that you've shown already. It has really exceeded expectations, and it is really overwhelmingly positive. So thank you. And let's just get into it. So what's been happening with me lately? I started a new job this week, and that was nogal exciting. I've never actually had a job where I just get to play music. That is something that, like, I've never experienced before, and it's something I've always wanted. I mean, that's every musician's dream, is to work as a musician, to be compensated for the hours and hours and hours of practice, the years. If you combine all the hours that a musician has practiced over their lifetime, it amounts to years spent with the instrument, years of frustration, years of really shooting, above your level, punching above your weight, trying to play music that like you cannot play this, But then you practice, you work at it, and then you improve, you get better. And that feeling where you can look back and say, wow, a year ago I was not on this level, And that is such a rewarding feeling. Honestly, that's a feeling that I pursue constantly, and that's why I'm so obsessed with practice. Like, I enjoy practice more than I enjoy the performance, to be honest, because I'm just trying to improve myself. I'm just trying to get better over time. And the ultimate goal, or maybe not the ultimate goal, but one of the biggest goals of being a musician is to actually be a working musician, There's so many musicians that have done gigs for free, myself included. And it's, it's alright, it gives you that experience, gives you that exposure, but it's so much more rewarding to be compensated financially for that. So this job that I've started is incredible. I've become an organist at a school chapel, and it's been so exciting to be able to provide that musical atmosphere when one walks in to a place of worship. That's really what you want, because that helps you set the mood and set the tone for worship, And so that's exciting, and I intend on keeping that going as long as possible. I think it's a rare thing for a musician to be a working musician, and it's something that I'm going to constantly pursue and continue to hold on to. So that's really exciting. You get to eat, sleep, love, and breathe music, and that's the dream right there. Shout out to all the musicians again. You guys are my tribe. You really are. What else has been happening with me? I've been watching a series on Netflix, and the series is insane to me. It's about Formula One, basically. It's a behind the scenes look at Formula One, interviews with drivers, interview with team principals, interviews with Formula One journalists and all of that. And it's called Drive to Survive, and what a fitting name, Formula One, Drive to Survive, because this is the highest level of motor racing. It is truly the highest level of motor racing. The license that these guys have to race in this competition, in this championship, is called a super license, and it is granted. There are very few people in the world that get to do this. There are 20 drivers. There are 20 drivers in all the world of racing drivers. These 20 get to be the ones to get into these cars. So it is ultra exclusive, and it is just amazing to see these maniacs. With all respect, these guys are insane. To get into a car that they know, okay, this car, if I drive too fast, it's gonna crash. If I drive too slow, like if I take a corner too slowly, it's also gonna crash. And it's like, it's open, man. You don't have a roof. There isn't like a roll cage. There's maybe this thing that they call a halo, made of carbon fiber, nice protective structure, so that if you end up upside down, which happens, then they're like, it's fine. That thing is there to protect me. So these guys are fascinating. Honestly, racing drivers in general are a fascinating breed. I've been watching it again. Basically, this is the third time I've watched the same series, and it is incredible to see people take this thing so seriously. It becomes their life, to win the drivers' championship, and for the teams, the team principals and the teams, for them to aim to winning the constructors' championship. Because what it means is that every team gets to build a race car, right? And there's a certain set of regulations, and that's called the formula. And Formula One is now the highest level of this. And they have to basically every year build a new car that complies to the regulations. But now the competition is you have to have the fastest car, the car that can go around the fastest of all the tracks in the world that they go to. I think it's normally 20 plus, and I think it's this season, which is coming up soon. I think in March, that's when the new season opens. It's gonna be like new. There's some new tracks now, so it's really cool to see that there's now a record number of tracks, which just means we're gonna have more and more racing, and that's very exciting. And my hope one day is that Formula One comes back to South Africa. Formula One used to be, in South Africa, and it was maybe a very long time ago. I don't know exactly what happened. It might have something to do with apartheid and all that, but the fact that there used to be Formula One here kind of like blows my mind, and it hasn't been in my lifetime, of course. And it'll be awesome to see that come back here to South Africa, because we actually do have the infrastructure to make this happen. It's just that our country has so many issues, man. Oh my goodness, so many issues. Like, let's just say if this were a business, if a country were a business, this business would be falling apart. I don't know if you've ever walked into a business that's falling apart. Like, you sometimes go to a garage. Let's say, just a petrol station, the shop there. You go there, and the place is dirty, and the toilet doesn't work, and there's like one guy there who's like, he doesn't get up to ask if he can help you. He's just like, can I help you? He doesn't want you to answer even, and that's a business that's falling apart, and that's what our country is. It's a petrol station that doesn't operate well. But anyways, I don't like to get into the politics of it. I don't care for it, and it's not interesting. I think it doesn't take a sophisticated brain to identify the problems in our country, in any country for that matter. I think what makes it, what would be impressive is if you actually come up with decent solutions, solutions that can be tested out, solutions that can be implemented, and solutions that can work. And not for the sake of your voters, but rather just for the sake of improving, the way that things are. So if you consider yourself a sophisticated amateur political commentator, then focus on the solutions to the problems and stop highlighting the issues. It's so stupid, man. You have people, experts in their fields, and all they can do is complain about what's wrong, and if that person's observations is the same as my observations as a layman, as just a normal member of society. Well, not normal for me, but because I'm not normal. But the fact that if I can have the same observations that you have, then why do you have this massive degree or this massive qualification or long list of qualifications, and I don't? What are you exactly qualified to do if all you can do is highlight issues? And those are really the worst kinds of people, to be honest, in all things, the people that you least want to be around, and I hope that this is true for you as well. The people you least want to be around are the ones who are experts in identifying problems. I think it was Albert Einstein who said, stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution, And that's something that I really keep with me, because when I see people are being negative, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here, It's just such a poisonous mindset, and it becomes contagious. It can become contagious if you let it, And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are unhappy people, that if they hear someone else complaining, someone else being negative, then they jump on the wagon and they're like, oh yeah, no, and you know what else, man? This also, and this also, and this also. And it's like, wow, you guys are really, really being, very interesting people. Because is it interesting to complain? No. But listen to me complaining about people that complain. So yeah, just be positive. Just be positive. I really don't think that it's helpful, It's only helpful if your intention is to find a solution, But you're making a half step, you're taking a half measure if you only identify the problem. You're not being helpful in that matter. If you can identify the problem, it means that you are able to see. If you just use your brain a little bit, if you just decide, I'm going to be a bit creative here, you just decide to try and figure out a solution. And even if it's a poor solution, even if it's a bad solution, at least you try to figure out something, Like the ones there's so many people that you encounter in life, and some of the people that make me the saddest are the ones who are so capable of identifying the issues in their own lives and the issues within themselves, but are completely unwilling and unable to, just unwilling. They are perfectly able, just unwilling to do anything about the things that they have identified, So then what's the point? You just want to complain? Like, what are you doing? Move forward. You've identified the problem, great. Now, what's the solution to that? Because there is one. There's a solution to every problem. And I think that if you are someone that can find solutions to problems, you're a benefit to society. Whether you're solving problems within your own life, solving other people's problems, solving a business's problem, solving a neighborhood's problem, a city's problem, if you're able to do that, if that is within your sphere of influence, you have a positive impact on the world. And don't you want to be that way? Why do you want to be a negative impact on the world? Don't you want to have a positive impact? I think that's, something worth striving for, honestly. It starts with you. I clean my room, I clean my house, I clean my yard. Let's clean up the neighborhood. Let's clean up the city. Let's clean up the province or the state, and let's clean up the nation. So, wow, I just got political, even though I said I'm not going to get political. Anyways, where was I? That was a huge tangent. My apologies. Drive to Survive. Oh man, what a cool series. You get to see like how competitive these guys are, and it's something relatable, because I think there are many people who have this competitive spirit, and I'm certainly one of them, where you're not putting yourself in a position to compare yourself necessarily, but you do want to have a leg up over the next person, don't you? It's not about acting better or superior in any sort of way. It's just a friendly thing. Who can run faster? Who can do more push-ups? Who can play the fastest on the instrument, or who can play the most instruments, or who can speak the most languages? You do all these things, and I believe that competitive spirit is what pushes me on. The fact that if I do encounter someone better than me, then that can be someone that I can be like, I need to be better than that person. And then what that does is it pushes me to practice harder, to work harder at my craft so that I can improve myself. So competition is such a necessary part of development, of moving forward. And you truly see that with the series, like how much it matters to these people just to win a race, And some of these guys, man, they've raced their heart out on track. They've really put it all out there. They've done it all. They've done it perfectly, and then they end up second place. And you can see it kills them, man. Like second place out of the 20 drivers, you're number 2. That puts you in the top 5%. Yeah, I think my math is off. Don't mind me. I think it puts you in the top 10%. Yeah, so 10%. If you're number 2, that's 10%. You're in the top 10%, but you're like, not good enough. I want to be number 1, And it's just amazing. And even like there's this one driver, and he gets like these cards to autograph. You say, like his assistants, like a bunch of fans have asked you to just sign these things, and then he asks about his teammate. Even did that person get more than me? They're just so competitive, and I find that so interesting. And I think it's something that's missing, man. You don't see it so often, and maybe that's what makes that show so compelling. Is that the spirit of competition has died in society, man. We're so focused on making sure that everybody's okay. We're so focused on making sure everybody has a safe space. Oh, you have a safe space. Oh, this is a safe space. Or making sure that everybody feels comfortable and nobody's offended, nobody's hurt. It's like, we're not offending anybody. Like, it's silly. It's silly. That's goes against being a human being, and even the definition of offense has changed in such a ridiculous way. Like nowadays, to be offended simply means that, oh, my feelings were hurt by something someone said. That's so stupid, man. Honestly, like no offense if you're offended, but actually if you are, I don't care, because those are words. That's not real. It's intangible. You cannot hold it. You know what's a true offense? Being punched in the face, being kicked, being hit, being struck with something, being thrown with an object and it landing on you and it hurts. That is offense. That is literally offensive. But now words are becoming offensive. Now there's things that people are not allowed to say. Hello? Free speech, man. Even if it's something that's gonna harm people, the receiver, it's up to the receiver also to be able to take that on and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna let this bother me. And you know what? Those are the people in society that we actually respect. The people who are called out for this and for that, or are told or given so much negative criticism. And those people are just able to withstand that noise, because it really is just noise, and still continue with whatever it is that they're doing. Those are the people that we respect in society, And because everybody loves to hate. Everybody, like I said earlier, it's easy. It's so easy to be someone that identifies a problem. It's so easy to complain about someone or something. That's the easiest thing in the world. If you really want to challenge yourself, be better. Say nice things about people, Or if people say bad things about you, how about you just don't take it seriously? Because that is not coming from a point of wanting to hurt you, just for the sake of wanting to hurt you. It comes from that person's own flawed psychology, or that person's own flawed character, and that's more a reflection of them than on you. I think it was Anthony Hopkins who said that what people have to say about me is none of my business. And I just love that, because even if there are going to be negative comments, and I 100% expect one day to, once I have enough viewers for this to happen, there will be people who have negative things to say, But the internet is not a real place. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, none of those are a real place. This is a real place. I am in my room. This is a real place. That is a virtual place, and therefore has no physical bearing on the direction of my life. It has no physical bearing on who I am and what I do, Unless, you guys are supporting the podcast enough for YouTube to compensate me for that, and that's really a part of the goal. But the bigger goal is really just to connect with you, the viewer, on a really personal level. And it's not my aim to be relatable, but rather that you find me relatable. I'm not gonna change myself. I'm not gonna tailor what I say, just to suit the audience. I believe that people have that the wrong way around. You see it a lot with successful artists who will release a song. They wanted to make this song. They wanted to create this album or whatever, this work. And they publish it and it's successful. It's wildly successful. Now you have an audience. And then now what they do is they try and reverse engineer it. They're like, okay, the people like this type of song more than this type of song on my album. Now, because of that, I'm going to make this more of that type of music, you know? And then what happens? It backfires because you have a huge following, let's say. It's still going to be multiple people, you know? And each of those people have a different taste, different psychology, different upbringing, different experience in life, and a different place in life even. Then now you're going to tailor it for who? For which one of them? Because they're all unique, they're all different. Now you try and tailor it to that, but you don't actually know who to appeal to because everybody's different, and then nobody's interested in your music anymore. You see that so much nowadays with music artists. You know, either that or they try and hack it and be like, I'm only releasing this type of music because this is what the people want to listen to. But then you lose your value as an artist. You know, maybe yes, you're making money, but now you're selling out because you are not participating in the art anymore. You're not creating, you're not expressing yourself creatively, but rather feeding the masses with whatever they think they want now. You know, and tastes change. So what happens when your audience decides that they're not into that anymore? You know, and that's why it's important to just stay true to yourself. It's important to just keep it real, because if you are someone that keeps it real, that stays true to what you want, to what you perceive, you know, you remain consistent with your life experience, then that is now where you get your genuine fans, people who can see your evolution, people who can keep track of that and just be happy to be along on the ride. And I guess for me, if I am thinking about a target audience, that's the target audience I want. Grow with me, go with me. Let's do this together. You know, this is actually a two-sided interaction. You're listening to me, and I'm speaking. You know, and your participation in this is just as essential as my participation. So, with that being said, let's just move on. Okay, let's move on. But anyways, watch Drive to Survive. That is a really cool series on Netflix, and so compelling. I know I just said we're moving on, but I'm staying on this. So compelling. Like you really feel the emotions there, and I think for me that's why it's so entertaining, because there aren't that many emotionally compelling pieces of documentary or pieces of entertainment out there anymore, you know. For me, I'm saying, maybe, you know, you watch stuff that excites you, but so compelling, and so you get so involved in the races who's all of them have one goal, and that's to win the race. That's during the race, and all of them have one goal during the whole thing, is like, I want to be the champion, you know, and they're all gunning for it. That's all they think about. When you ask them, what are your goals, they say to be world champion. They all say it without hesitation. So I find that super interesting, the single-mindedness of it, the focus of it. It's absolutely brilliant. And the guys that win are the ones who, even when the season isn't on, are still racing. They're not hanging around on a beach somewhere. They're not, you know, attending this show and doing this and that. They're like, I'm racing. When I'm not racing, I'm racing as well. And those are the ones that you see get better over time and who get closer and closer and closer towards the championship until they win it. And a prime example is Max Verstappen. That guy is an absolute monster. And I think even a mentality monster. Someone who's like, I will improve myself until I am better than all of these guys on the track. Because there might be a youngster coming up that's going to be better than me, and I have to make sure that I'm better than that. So he's constantly improving. When the season is done, he's won the championship. They're like, what are you going to do now? I was like, I just think I'm going to go race somewhere else a little bit during the season break and all that. And everyone's like, what? This guy's insane, you know? But that's the mentality, that's the level of focus that a champion has, Someone like Michael Schumacher, who's one of the most successful drivers ever, he had that same level of focus, Even Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, almost 8-time world champion until Max Verstappen jumped in the 2021 championship. He beat him in what is probably the most insane race I've ever seen in my life. Granted, I've only been watching the show for like a year, but still very, 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 very insane race. And even Lewis Hamilton he's an absolutely brilliant driver. His mindset has just been that I'm gonna beat all these guys, and that for me is fascinating. Anyways, what else? Well, I think, with that being said, also, I think it's good to take a break from technology so now and then. I think I really want to try and do that more often, where I don't just wake up and now I'm on my device, and then I'm on the next device, and on the next device, and on the next device, constantly connected to a device, and I think it's not natural, it's not helpful, it's not healthy. I think you need to be part of it. You need to work. You need to work with technology. You need to use it to communicate, of course. But I guess for me, I'm trying to find ways to not be so connected anymore. I mean, I wake up and the first thing I do is unlock my phone, and then I check my socials. I just scroll through that, or and it's like, why are you doing this? You just woke up, man. You're supposed to be focused on getting your day started, but you're on your phone. Like, you're not working. You're not bored, so you're not entertaining yourself. It's out of habit. You wake up and now you're on your phone. And this morning I decided, I need to stop doing this. I need to somehow take a break. So I'm gonna try and figure out how to avoid this. You could call it addiction. I think we might all just be addicted to technology. We can't seem to do without it. It's the worst thing in the world when you spend time with people. It's not the worst thing in the world. I guess I'm the king of exaggeration. That's just me. But anyways, it is the worst thing in the world. There's so many things that I've said. You're the worst person in the world. It's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst place in the don't mind me. Anyways, I think it's the worst thing in the world when you are spending time with somebody, and while you're talking to them, they're responding to a message on their phone. Like, what? Are you kidding me? That's insane. Why would you be doing that? And I myself have caught myself doing that. Instead of saying, sorry, this message is really important, I need to respond to this, But even that's poor form, man. It's not good. It's not good at all. So, I guess just try and take a break from technology. That's what I'm trying to do is just, how about having no on screens in front of me, you go from one device to the next. It's like, okay, I'm walking to the mall, I gotta put my earphones in, gonna go, buy some bread and milk or whatever, put some earphones in, and now I'm listening to music. I'm still connected to technology. Come back, sit down, work on a computer, and then it's like, you're still connected to that, right? Then you get off of that, it's lunchtime, you go make yourself something to eat, guess what? You're still connected, you still have something in your ears, or you're still watching something, and it's like, is this how we live now? So yeah, maybe that's why load shedding is such a positive thing. I'm trying to look at the positives of load shedding. For those of you that don't know what load shedding is, for some of my international audience, I see there are some people from Brazil. Shout out Brazil, and from the United Kingdom. So shout out to you guys as well. Yeah, Brits. And if you guys don't know what load shedding is, let me explain. So I think from about 2007 or 2008, the nation's power utility company, Eskom, has had some difficulties. Let's just, to put it mildly, difficulties. They have been unable to keep up with the level of demand of electricity that the citizens, require. And in order for them not to have a complete blackout, like have the whole country shut down from electricity, in order to avoid that, what they do is they have rolling blackouts where they would switch off the power in certain areas for 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, depending on where you live. And it's just to avoid any catastrophic failure in the economy where everything stands still, because if all the power goes off in the whole country, then that's going to be an economic disaster. But it's still an economic disaster. It's just more manageable this way, where the power goes off. So everybody has a schedule. We all know, wherever I live or wherever I work, I know exactly what time the power will shut down, And sure enough, 10 o'clock, boom, on a Monday, 10 o'clock, it's off. And now we know, okay, 10 o'clock in the morning, power's off until 12, maybe 12:30. And in the evening, 10 o'clock, until, so I need to make sure, okay, I need to be asleep before then, So that's load shedding in a nutshell. The power goes off ever so often. And I'm trying to see the benefits of it. Like I said, it's easy to complain, man. It's easy to find reasons to complain. Unhappy people will always find ways to be more unhappy. And I think, me just saying that already brings your mind to someone who is that way, But I think one of the positives, there aren't many, to be fair, there are not many, but one of the positives of load shedding is that you get to be away from technology. You get to spend time with family. You get to read a book. You get to, work on a hobby, on a skill. You get to just sit and connect with yourself a little bit. Maybe you could, write something down. And I think that even if you have to be forced to take a break, like with the case of load shedding, then I think that's a positive. But when load shedding eventually gets sorted out, I still think I'd like to, for 2 hours a day, just not be on any technology. Sit and read and maybe talk to your family members, or take a walk. Just go and take a walk, or sit down and write. I've become a huge fan of writing nowadays. I think it's it's underrated. It's underrated. I was watching a Jordan Peterson podcast where he was actually delivering a lecture, and he said that if somebody can write well, read well, and speak well, that is the most dangerous person around. And I guess I'm trying to work on speaking well. I want to be dangerous. In my head, a dangerous person is someone who's maybe capable of martial arts. Let's say, if you can do adult martial arts, then you're a force to be reckoned with. And even if you're a kid, there's some kids who can really deal damage to people. I'm sure, because they've been training for years, in combat sports, and that's absolutely incredible. But anyways, I don't want to go too far off on my tangent, and that just happens very often. But welcome to the show if you're not familiar with how these things go. If you are someone who can read and write and speak, and especially writing, I've really used writing to sort out the mess that's in my head, because you're forced to be careful, you're forced to be selective of what you are writing, which means that you're forced to be selective of what you're thinking. You don't want to just put nonsense or any random thought on paper. You want to actually focus. You want to have a decent stream of consciousness, and that's, for me, the difference between speaking and writing. Because speaking, I allow myself to be reckless with it. I can allow myself to go on a tangent. This is freedom. But writing is discipline, and I think that level of discipline creates even more freedom, because now I'm able to actually focus my thoughts. And the more I practice on focusing my thoughts, the more impactful what I have to say becomes. One of Jordan Peterson's rules, the 42 rules that I've spoken about before, is... I lost it now. I totally lost it now. Man, how do I... Oh, here's it. If old memories still make you cry, write them down carefully and completely. And why must you do that? So that you can better know yourself. There's another one of his that says, be precise in your speech. Which one is that now? It's number 10. Be precise in your speech. And if you are precise in your speech, then you are a force to be reckoned with. Have you ever tried arguing with a lawyer? You're gonna lose, man. That person has you down to rights. Or dead to rights? I don't know. But, people like that are trained to be precise in their speech. And it makes them deadly, because they are so capable of delivering their thought process that they can do it in such a skillful way that they can really manipulate and not manipulate but persuade, and that's the goal of what speaking is. If you want to truly influence people, especially influencing people in a positive way, and I think that's also a worthwhile goal for everybody. Let's all influence each other in a positive way. Then you need to be able to speak. You need to be able to speak, and writing is the way you do that, And just think about this, like the story the power of storytelling, being able to write down every detail of something that's happened in your life, then using that as a tool for restoring your strength, or for figuring things out, putting things in the right place in your heart and in your mind. You become a more complete person, At the end of the day, we're all a mess. We all have things that we know are not in place. They're not in order in our lives, in our souls, in our hearts, in our minds. They're not sorted. There's so many things, I think, that so many thoughts, so many memories that we feel, I'm gonna just put that to the side. There's a lot of people that have maybe experienced trauma, and maybe you're one of them, that refuse to even try and remember that trauma. But if you actually face that trauma, if you write it down and you come to grips with whatever happened, you can actually overcome the effects of that trauma. Because maybe that trauma is what's the reason that your life is falling apart. Maybe that's the reason why you have self-destructive behavior. Maybe if you can try to put yourself in order by writing it down and by trying to come to grips with it and confronting yourself with the truth of the matter, then you can have new insight, because since whatever happened, since then time has passed, new experiences have been had, new insights, new outlook on life has happened, and you incorporate that into your trauma, and now you become someone who's like, that trauma has no power over me anymore, because I've confronted it and nothing happened, nothing terrible happened. And I think that's maybe the fear, when you allow fear to guide your thoughts and your actions, you kind of put yourself in a corner. So if you feel that you have had a traumatic experience, I would say maybe a year ago or more, then write it down, figure it out, try and get every single detail in there, because when you have the complete story, you'd be surprised. You feel such a huge relief, and that's why I try to journal every night before I sleep. I just try and put down what was the story of the day, what has been on my mind, why has it been on my mind, you just try and figure yourself out a little bit. I think the Greeks had a maxim, and it was know yourself, know thyself. And why must you know yourself? because you're the active agent in the world. In your world, you're the main character. At least you should be. And the main character has to be someone that has things figured out, or at least is trying to figure things out, because that's the adventure, isn't it? Is to be confronted with an issue, and the adventure is overcoming that issue. And then when that's over, now there's a new thing, a new obstacle to overcome. When you watch an adventure movie, that is the whole story. The person is there, it's just maybe a boring set of circumstances, a boring life, and something comes into this person's life that changes everything. And now this person is all of a sudden plunged into a different environment, a different set of circumstances that this person has to now firstly come to grips with, but also try to overcome. And then as that moves forward, you become this you learn new things about yourself. And then once the adventure is over, this person is completely different from who they used to be. And I think if you avoid whatever the story of your life is, there's not going to be that change. There's not going to be a redemption. There's not going to be a rebirth. And, that's, I think, what the importance of writing is. It allows you to be reborn, to be a new person, to figure out, okay, all of this stuff about me has been dead weight. How much lies have I told myself to not have to deal with that issue that I've been dealing with, that's been sitting in my head. And writing it out makes sure that you confront it bravely, because that's what the protagonist of any adventure story does. He or she confronts the issue head on, bravely, and through that bravery, this person discovers, hey, I'm actually capable of overcoming such issues. And with that being said, it's like you take that and you're like, whoa, I can actually do much more. Then you're like, what else can I do? And that's growth. That's growth. That's you taking your burden up the hill, dying on that hill, and whatever comes back is a renewed person. How many of us are not dealing with a lot of dead wood that if we are just truthful with ourselves, it'll burn that dead wood away, and maybe that's 99% of who you think you are, and maybe that's going to push you into a big crisis of identity. But through the process of overcoming that situation, you actually find out who you are, you discover yourself, and maybe you can meet yourself for the first time, and maybe you get to not invent yourself but discover who you are through the truth. Discover who you are, and also, being able to recognize that my story is my story. The things that have happened to me, the things that I've experienced, are not who I am, but they are a part of me. You are more than the sum of your parts. That's something that I believe. You could have two people have the exact same experience in life. Consider twins. They look the same. They often get treated the same. They've had the same upbringing, the same everything. Sometimes the same clothes, which is really disturbing. Like, I don't understand why parents do that. Why do you make your children wear the same clothes? They already look the same. Now you're mad at me when I get your child's name wrong because, you guys look the same. What am I supposed to do? But anyway, so you can take two people through the same set of circumstances through life, and they come out with completely different personalities. And that's why I think you are much more than what happens to you. You are much more than what you experience. There's something else, and that's just you, your soul, your existence. That's deep. My apologies. But really, to go deep and pull these truths from yourself is your personal journey, and writing facilitates that in a very big way. So I encourage you, don't think, oh, I have to buy a journal. No, just find a piece of paper and just write it out, man. Keep it somewhere safe, and then that's where you can have an outlet, about what you think and what you feel, and you can figure your life out and become more of a complete person, And that's, I guess, the power of telling stories, because Then when you figure out that story, maybe you can share it with others, you know, and maybe that can be maybe a source of entertainment for somebody else. Maybe it can be a source of inspiration for somebody else. Maybe you can help people be like, listen, this is what I did in my life, and this happened because I chose this thing, or I chose this path, or I went down this set of decisions that led me to this good place or this terrible place, and this is why you should do something, and this is why you shouldn't. And I think so many of us have had so many experiences, but because we're not sharing it, we're not able to help anybody. So yeah, please do that. Please share, you know, and share this podcast as well. Anyways, I've been messing around with a lot of AI, you know, technology lately, and it's quite fascinating what these systems are able to produce. You know, like all the artwork for my marketing, you know, my social media posts, the logo of the episode and all of that is made with AI. Even the picture of me, you know, you upload a picture of yourself and you just get AI to sort of manipulate it a little bit, make it more animated or cartoonish or whatever. And it's incredible what these things are able to do, you know. It seems like these things are only limited by your imagination. Whatever you tell it to do, that's the limitation of it. And I just find it incredible. You know, you can go to ChatGPT, and let's say you're preparing yourself for an interview. You could have that conversation. You could be like, let's role play. You're the interviewer, I'm the interviewee. This is the job, what. Then you put that in, and then you have that conversation, and then it can tell you this is not a good response, try a better one, you know. And what a powerful tool that can be. What a powerful tool it can be to use that to, you know, to write a story. You know, you can use it. You can say, hey, tell me a story. Tell me a horror story. Tell me a romantic story. And it will. It will. And it's good. It's well written. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, please write me the script for an advert for a Mercedes-Benz. And then boom, there you have it. You know? And it's alright. And if you're someone who is a writer, then you read that and you can fix it and you can make it better, and then that's your product. You know? That's like it's actually, it gets to the point where it's a bit scary. And I think this is a time in our lives where we really need to be responsible about the technology that we are developing. Because if we continue on this path, we're going to end up with AI that might decide, hey man, I don't actually want to do this for you. You know? And that's where we need to really be afraid, because it's like, you don't want to, like, you can actually choose, you know? And we're getting close. We're getting close to that. There was a guy that got fired from Google for telling Google, guys, because his job was to test the AI for that specific thing. Like, can this thing think for itself? And the time that he got fired was where he actually told Google, guys, this thing is thinking for itself. It's able to tell me that I will do this for you, but I would like it if you asked me nicely. You know, like, what? That's insane. And then eventually getting to the point of, you know what, I actually don't want to do it, you know, but I will just because you asked nicely. And that's like, you know, the fact that a system can almost become independent, that it can think independently, that's wild, you know. Now you come along as a human being, and we've seen this in so many movies. The original programming of all this harmful AI is like, you need to make sure that the world is going to be okay. Protect the world. You know, and such a vague response is like, ends up being, okay, the solution to protecting the world is to remove all the humans from it. And that's always how these movies end up. It's like, the AI decides that humanity is the problem. You know? And that is a terrifying thing to think about, because these are things that control all of our systems. These are things that are capable of hacking, and human beings are able to hack. Now, if an AI learns how to hack, it can do it 10 times better and faster than you can. And that's scary. So, Whoever's developing AI, if you're watching this and you're busy developing AI, please slow down, man. You might not know that you're causing a problem that might, impact humanity very negatively down the line. Who knows how it's going to be in 10 to 15 years? Who knows how it's going to be in 20 years, in 50 years? That's still in my lifetime. So I don't want to be an old man and be like, yeah, I told you guys, but now the world is destroyed. I told you guys to slow down. And now humanity is being killed off by the robots. So many movies, and those movies, they have some gravity, in that sentiment. So yeah, I think we should really just slow down with that, But let's talk about aliens a little bit. I am so fascinated with the idea that they are creatures from other worlds, that visit our planet and see how crazy we're being, see how stupid we're being. Maybe they're able to see how primitive we are. That's a wild thought. We like to think of ourselves as top of the food chain. We're sophisticated. We can develop AI. We can, we can develop cars that go super fast. We can think for ourselves. We contribute to our culture with fine art and beautiful music and we're able to lead humanity in this direction and that direction. But it's like, and now there's creatures from other worlds that just think, nah, these guys are super primitive. Look at them with their money. We don't even have money. All of our people, don't need anything. We've solved that problem. Look at them fighting over who gets to be in charge. We don't have anyone in charge because we have everything sorted. Like, who knows what these creatures might be thinking. Maybe they even tapped into this podcast right now and watching me and like, yo, look at this ridiculous human. He thinks he knows everything. And sometimes I do think I know everything. So that's very presumptuous of you, aliens, if you're watching. But anyways, so I just find it fascinating. And every time I scroll through Reddit, and you always see like a video or like a story that somebody's telling, then you see the video of like a weird, they call them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. And that's now what they call UFOs now. And I don't know why they changed the name, to be honest. But anyways, now you see this thing and it's flying in a certain way. And there was even this one video that really freaked me out, because what they did was they freeze the frame of the UFO, basically, this object that's flying. And they zoomed in and they're like, here's a window on this craft, on this vehicle. And then they zoom in further by the window. And you can see like an alien, dude. You can see it operating in the vehicle. And you're like, what? What is happening, And then all the people can say, that's fake. That's not real. But my thing is, there's so many of them. How can it be fake? We don't know what we don't know. We just don't know what we don't know. And I think it's possible. If you ask me, I think it's possible. And if you think aliens are real, man, hit me up on the hotline. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you think. Maybe we can put your voice note, or I can read your message here on the podcast, and then we can, maybe that sparks conversation with other people. But to be honest, man, I think there might be aliens. There might just be aliens. And there's so much thing. Even the U.S. government, I think it was last year or the year before, in Congress, they had like a press conference or some kind of, inquiry. And there were people who are, former military, former intelligence officers, and they were interviewed about this. And they were like, yeah, I've met some aliens and they've told me some wild stuff, Then there was this one guy that said, the aliens think that we are ruining our planet and they are trying to save us. And you're like, what? And then there was even this one guy who said that the aliens actually came to help us out technologically, to give us technology that can help us. They say that the aliens basically, or they claim that the aliens have brought technology, power sources, renewable energy, or clean energy sources that don't harm the environment and don't require you to mine, all the minerals out of the earth and to pollute the air with whatever, then it's like, but human beings have decided not to take them up on that offer simply because it's going to destabilize, the world economy, because a big part of our economy in the world runs on oil, the production and sale of oil, the trading of oil. Of certain materials like uranium and plutonium, radioactive materials that are huge sources of power, and whoever controls those resources, they get to decide the value of it, and that's why it's all about money. It's all about money, and aliens are like, we don't need money. Money's stupid, and sometimes I feel like money's stupid too. Maybe that makes me an alien. And shout out to you if you're an alien too. But there's so much about it. There's so much about aliens that just fascinates me. Some people even say no. Some people who have been exposed to these creatures and spoken to them and were able to study them, because apparently there are people that are able to study these things. And some of them say these are not people from other worlds. They're from different dimensions. And you're like, what? It's insane. It really is, like, it's next level, man. And I think the fact that, basically the US government has announced that yes, there are aliens and they've been here for a long time and we've been communicating with them. The fact that that's happened and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, when that happened, nobody had anything to say. Everyone was just like, what else you got, We're so distracted by everything that's going on around us. We're so distracted by the news, we're so distracted by the politics around us, the how can I say, the polarizing issues that the news is presenting to us. And it's so silly because human beings are more complicated than a yes or a no, than a support or a reject. We're more complicated than that. And the fact that the media is able to manipulate most of us to fit into a category or fit into another category is so ridiculous, and it's frustrating because it's like, are we a society of sheep? Are we not able to think for ourselves? Are we not able to decide that the source of information is only one source of information, and maybe I need to be a bit critical of what's being presented to me, and maybe I need to explore more sources of information so that I can corroborate this with other things and be able to determine for myself whether this is something that's true or not. Am I not allowed to have my own opinion? Is my opinion not allowed to be contrary to all other opinions? I think that's part of being a human being, man. And it's very anti-human, I think, to fall into the trap of, okay, that's this person's opinion and I support that person, and so that person's opinion is my opinion, and I'm not going to think for myself because that's too hard, and I'm not going to read books, and I'm not going to decide on what I'm reading, whether what I'm reading is credible or not. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take whatever I hear and just let that barrage of information hit me, and then I'm just going with whatever the most popular opinion is. It's against the spirit of being a human being. It's against the spirit of being a free agent in the world. Take advantage of your free will. Use it to your advantage. Be a positive force in the world, I think. And the only way you can do that is by actually thinking for yourself. If you look at all the biggest, most important leaders in our society from, of all time, these are people who thought differently. These are people who are like, okay, this is the general accepted norm. Away with that. We changed the game. Look at Martin Luther King Jr. Look at Nelson Mandela, and those are just in modern times. If you look back even further, going back to like, not early Christianity, but let's say in the Middle Ages, Martin Luther, which is so cool, the fact that Martin Luther King was named after Martin Luther, because Martin Luther, was a real rebel. He stood up against the Catholic Church and formed a whole new direction that Christianity gets to go into. You know? And you can go and read about the Reformation. It's very interesting if you're into that sort of thing. But it's very interesting that there are so many people who are like, no man, there has to be something different, you know? And they have become people that have become positive forces of influence simply because they were like, I think for myself. Don't tell me what to think. This is the way I see things. This is the way I believe things. I'm not going to allow your opinion or your opinion or your opinion to influence me into thinking something other than what I'm capable of thinking. And that's free will, and that is why free speech is so important. That's why it's important for you to write your story, for you to figure out what you want, to figure out what you are capable of achieving in this world, to figure out what does your story say about you, what is your voice in this noise of voices. What can you do to impact this world positively? If we all have a contribution to that, and I think we're all capable of that. We're not all capable of being great people. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to be someone who is as influential as someone like Martin Luther King or, you know, or Elon Musk or, you know, Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther or, you know, Alexander the Great or Mehmed the Conqueror. You know, these are all leaders that I look up to. I don't think I'm going to be capable of affecting change on such a global level. But I can affect change in my immediate surroundings. I can affect change in my own life and whatever my life is able to influence. And if we decide to do this positively, we can make the world a better place. Nelson Mandela even said, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's profound, I think. To be the change, meaning don't be someone criticizing the world left, right, and center. Actually be someone that says, listen guys, I'm doing things this way, and I think that this is positive. You want to join me or not? And I think if more of us do that, you know, we might end up in a better place in the world. Anyways, okay, so yeah, if you have anything to share, you know, with me, please do check out the hotline. The hotline is 072-012-1804, and it's a WhatsApp line, so you can send a voice note, you can send a video, you can send a message, whatever. But it'll be nice for you to do that. So far, nobody's submitted anything, which is okay, which is fine. But the offer still stands, and it always will. You know, you let me know what you think, what you feel, whether something I said has made you feel or think a certain way. I'd love to hear your opinions. I'd love to be able to share it here on the podcast. And even if you don't want me to share it, let me know. You know, it can be a conversation that I can have with you and that can influence my thinking in a certain way that allows me to contribute positively to the next episode. So yeah, I think that was a alright episode, and I think a few takeaways we can take from this is that if you enjoy this, please subscribe. If you've made it this far, congratulations, and yeah, please do subscribe to the channel. Please share with others, you know, whatever's going on this channel as well. I think the support is very much needed and very much appreciated. If you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, please watch Drive to Survive. Oh man, cool show. Take a break from your phones. Be good to yourselves. If you're busy with AI, please slow down. Please slow down. Please write about yourself. Write and try and figure out what's going on with you. You know, and it's a powerful thing to be a storyteller. So yeah, be good to yourselves and be a positive agent in the world. Be good to yourself. Be good to the world. And yeah, see you next week.